You heard he hasn't touched the bat for a long time. You can see muscle memory taking over.
Up and about, that is for sure. Rabada and the South Africans. And now it's over to a little bit of a counter-punch, potentially here from Smith and Labuschagne. There was a lot of talk about Steve Smith. We've known for year on year about being up in the middle of the night, doesn't sleep during a test match, shadow bats. Yet between the Champions Trophy and here, he's hardly picked up a bat. And Stuart Broad, you cannot believe that.
He loves batting as much as Joe Root, I think, that style. It's definitely someone who would have to stay in the same team hotel. England versus Australia. You can hear him shadow batting in his room, tapping the bat on the hotel floor.
Lungi Ngidi coming into this final. He'll be used in two critical parts of the match. One at this phase here, trying to get through the top order, but he's got one of the best results in and against the tail as well, and that's where South Africa has struggled of late. And there's one that beats the outside edge.
This is an important spell from Lungi Ngidi, purely because when you win the toss and you decide to bowl, you just don't want your opening bowlers to pick up a few wickets, but you want the bowlers that are coming after to create an impact as well. Lungi Ngidi is just coming off an injury, has played a lot of T20 cricket. Playing Test cricket, the bowling workloads are very different, and that's going to be a challenge on his body as well. And that's what we need to watch, how consistent he is with his speed across 5 days.
Confidently onto the front foot. He's just pushed a few for a couple of runs, this time a little bit more aggressive to find the boundary.
A really simple looking shot, but one that you would be very careful when playing in overcast conditions in England. Marnus Labuschagne likes to play the flick and the straight drive a lot more than the cover drive, but this one he got to it, got into a lovely position, head over the ball, just watched it go nicely from his bat. See the way Marnus is lining up, there's definitely a distinct difference in speeds playing a Rabada and a Jansen to a Lungi Ngidi. Just have a look at how he gets his front foot across, and most importantly the head across as well towards the ball. You're finding that big gap between mid-off and backward point that always exists in England. They want you to play the cover drive.
Yeah, he's spot on as a bowler. You want the opening batters playing a shot like that in the first couple of hours. At Lords, you saw Aidan Markram there at second slip actually clapping the delivery, although it went for 4. It's not far off getting a nick.
Well, I've got two of the most fashionable men in cricket sitting next to me. I just looked at those guys in the audience there with their very elaborate outfits. I thought, I wonder if you'd ever put that on. DK, I think you're probably the best out of the two. That's more your style, isn't it? Bright, colourful, cheery.
Until they put me in this grey suit on a cloudy day.
That's well bowled, dragging Labuschagne forward to finish off the over. Back into Test match cricket after being out for a while. Last match was in August of last year for Ngidi. little bit gloomy outside, but nice and bright in the commentary box, particularly with Nasser Hussain next to me.
A wicket keeper, you just have to bear in mind the slope, and I'll show you that after this delivery from Rabada if nothing happens. Stop. South Africa's fielding's been good, and the placement of their fielding as well, where they stand as a slip cordon and a keeper. If you're bowling from the nursery end to a left-hander and it's going up the slope, it's like a trampoline effect and it carries a lot. But if you're going down the slope, it is going to die on you. And definitely to the right-hander, the South Africans have done their homework. To the left-hander, they're slightly deeper. To the right-hander, they're slightly closer, and they take their mark from the keeper. You can see the keeper there. To the right-hander is closer. You look at first slip, he's closer, and that ball wouldn't have carried if they were in the same position for the right-hander Green as they were for Khawaja. So they've done their homework really well, and that shows it perfectly. You adjust as a batter, you adjust as a bowler, but you adjust your positions as a slip cordon as well.
Very nicely done, Nas. And is that something that you spoke about as well, Stewie, where the slip fielders need to be standing on this ground?
Yeah, definitely, and also adjusting to the age of the ball. The new ball harder, carry through a bit more. As soon as the ball gets a little bit softer, the wicketkeeper and slips adjusting their positioning. And for different style of bowlers at times, Marco Jansen has one of the highest release points in the world. He might stand a little bit deeper. Someone like Rabada who can skid the ball through a bit. So, I mean, we've seen two wonderful slip catches so far, and that's a huge thing, confidence in the slips. If one goes down early, then everyone can just get a bit jittery and a bit nervous, but to take two brilliant catches like they have done so far in the first 10 overs.
Just squares him up a little bit. It's not just the slips cordon, because you can see Rickleton with the lid on at the moment. That short leg is as forward of square to Smith and to Rabada, and then of course when it goes the other way, he's just backward of square a little bit. So it's just those minute details, isn't it, that can make such a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. In a big game like this, you won the toss, you've decided to bowl. It's important you hold on to your catches, stand in the right position as well. I mean, walking into this game, it's only fair to say Australia probably had the upper hand. But when you do these small things right as a team, you slowly but steadily earn the right to get closer to victory. It's obviously very far off as we sit here on day one, but definitely they've thought correctly, they've planned correctly. Temba Bavuma has made sure he's marshaled his bowlers so far. Not so much to do right now, but he knows that he's got the right men in the right spot for the moment.
End of another Rabada over, 26 for 2. Smith and Labuschagne, they have batted together a lot. They talk a lot of cricket, whether it's out in the middle or sitting on the balcony watching the game. At the moment, though, it's all out in the middle for them. Khawaja gone without scoring off 20, and Green came and went. Rabada doing all the damage. It's a big conversation piece about this Australian lineup, particularly around the batting order. Labuschagne now. Smith and Labuschagne averaging 56.5 as a batting partnership. That's the length. That's the length he needs to be at.
Stuart Broad really enjoyed that one. Was ambling in the run-up, but got the right release from his hand and just swung away nicely, just in front of the batter's eyes.
Yeah, I really liked what you said earlier, DK, about Labuschagne's bat angle and where it comes from. And I think as a bowler, you can really use the crease to him. So not necessarily changing every ball, but a couple of balls mid-crease, then go a bit wider, get a bit tighter. For him, he's so internal, he's so thinking about his own technique. If you can make little tweaks as a bowler, just change your angle on him, you can cause him some trouble.
He's bowling nicely. Just what Stuart Broad said is what Lungi Ngidi is doing right now. He's using the crease a bit, going wider of the crease, but still sticking to his stock ball, the outswing. It's an old 3-card trick, but works almost every time against the batter. Just using the crease. Whether you bowl mid-box or just go wider. Make the batter feel almost like it's coming closer to you. And lure a batter into playing the cover drive.
It's a difficult end when you're bowling from pavilion end. It's a difficult end to leave the ball as a batter because you're conscious it's going to be coming down the slope and nipping back towards your stumps. That's why you can outside edge a lot from this end, because you're worried about getting bowled.
Now it's the balance, isn't it, for Marnus Labuschagne, about a confident leave, which we just saw there. Pick the line, length, more than happy to shoulder arms, and then that balance between going on the attack as well. That's been one of the biggest changes in Marnus Labuschagne of late. He's gone from attacking at around that 33%. It's dropped all the way down to 20. Some might say it's a survival thing if you're not quite confident in your form.
Yeah, I had a mindset with Marnus Labuschagne that I thought he was trying to leave every single ball. So me as a bowler, my goal was to not let him leave any. He's a wonderful lever on length. So as a goal, in his first 40, 50 balls, I wanted him playing full defence every single ball. Don't want him to leave the ball.
That's exactly what Marnus has done. Just leave the ball on line as much as possible. We know he's really good on leaving on length, which is one of his strengths, and that's why he's such a good batter. But right now, he's just understanding what lines to be leaving the ball in. Might look like a simple leave, but it's not that easy on a Lord's pitch with the slope.
Sticks with the same length and just drags the line in a little bit.
It's also worth, at times, if you've got it in the armoury, a big in-swinger to Labuschagne. That's not necessarily looking for the LBW or bowled, it's just to let him know you've got it. So then he has a bit of doubt in his mind that he can't just leave the away swinger all the time, because a big booming in-swinger might come at times. When you bowl the in-swinger at the pavilion, you've got to be brave. You've got to almost aim it at 5th, 6th stump and allow it to come down the slope.
Not a lot of foot movement, just relied on the hands there to open up the angle of the blade. It's rolling up the hill and gives enough time for the ball to be dragged back in by the skipper. 29 for 2. Run rate just of 2.4 at the moment. It's something we haven't been used to seeing from the Australian team, but they're in a little bit of an early pickle with the early wickets of Khawaja and Green. Decent crowd have come in day one, session one of the ultimate test. There's a lot of green and gold, and when I say that, for both teams. A lot of Aussies and South Africans in London to start with, but I know a lot have also flown in.
It's very interesting you say that now, because as I was coming in the train today, there were 3 people. 2 supporting South Africa and 1 supporting Australia. But they were together is what I mean.
What are you saying, we don't get on? Love each other. Mulder into the attack. What a responsibility he's got for this test match. Be batting at 3 as well. There's a man that knows this ground intimately well, left of screen, Mike Gadding.
Ideally, that's the way you would want to start a spell, isn't it? Just on the money, just come hit your straps. You want that seam to just stay upright a little longer if you're being greedy, but see the way he's coming in towards the crease tells you he's feeling good here.
Yeah, when you start a spell, I always think you start with your best ball, whatever suits you. If that's an in-swinger, an out-swinger, a wobble seam. I was always a wobble seam. And then once you get a rhythm of the outfield, how you're landing, what the wind's doing, then you can start looking at who you're bowling at and what style of bowling suits that batter. But for me, it was always about hitting the pitch, getting it through to the wicket keeper, 2 or 3 balls into the game, and then I go, okay, I'm bowling at Labuschagne. This is what I'm going to look to do. Get a bit wide on the crease, angle in, move it away towards my slips. It's all, I suppose it's like when you're batting, you come out and you try and settle. To me, here at Lord's, big game, it's all about just settling, making sure you're comfortable, and then you look at the tactical side of it and bowl at who you...
Because it'd be easy to go searching, wouldn't it? You look up, it's overcast, you think you've got the slope to work with, you've got Australia on the back foot. It'd be easy to try and get overly confident, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and bowling the nursery end here, the slope going right to left, it can drag you wide, and suddenly you go 4 through the covers, 4 through point, and you're then chasing, and you've got to go defensive.
And this is the adjustment for fans watching the game too, about why we love this test match format so much, isn't it? Because it is these leaves. People go, well, you didn't score. You know, everyone's so used to white ball cricket where runs are flowing all the time, but this battle between bat and ball, this is where it drags people into a different type of entertainment.
And the tension you can feel right now. 2 brilliant batters at the crease, 29 for 2. South Africa can get another 2 wickets now. Really open up the game. So I think everyone in this stadium at the moment is feeling that palpable nerves, really, of if Smith nicks one, then it's South Africa are massively in the game. But if these 2 go and put on 130, then it all looks very different.
So far, South Africa have bowled without an extra cover. But the moment Rian Mulder is coming to the attack, they put that extra fielder on the offside. Tells you it's going to be the workhorse for South Africa. Long spells, just keep it tight. And from the other end, somebody will be rotating, looking for the wickets. He would get the odd wicket. He's probably slightly of the defensive variety.
Oh, that's just beaten on the inside edge. That'll be the first. Well, tick over hours play here at Lord's. We'll have drinks with Australia. 2 wickets down, South Africa 29 on the board.
So 29 for 2, and absorbing first hour of play here. And South Africa winning the toss, having no hesitation in fielding first, and they'll be happy with what they've done in that first hour. 2 wickets taken, they'll settle for that. Both wickets taken by Rabada. As the players have drinks. It's an overcast morning, and I've got Kevin Peterson, Sean Pollock with me. What do you make of that first hour, KP?
Yeah, good morning everybody. It was two teams that were going at each other here. It's as you always see in a test match, the start of a test match. It's like the first couple of rounds in a heavyweight boxing contest. Delivering a couple of blows there, Rabada. Brilliant catching from South Africa. Their fielding has been magnificent. We've got a couple of players there that have never played at Lords. It's a huge, huge occasion for all these players. But South Africa hasn't looked nervous, which has been good. Australia's perspective, they've got 2 batters in now, Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, and this is the partnership. I'm speaking to a couple of the players beforehand, the South Africans, and they're saying we've got to get Smith out before lunch. Well, they have that opportunity, Polly.
Yeah, they do indeed. And they need these 2 backup bowlers to do a fantastic job. Lungi and Giri has started well.
That's 4. Yes, drifting onto the pads. Just the start Australia would have wanted straight away after the drinks break. Easy pickings here for Steve Smith.
Yeah, so strong in this area, isn't he, Ravi? Anything you get too straight, he fiddles in and around the stumps, and there's a lot of movement. That was an intended delivery to try and nip it back. You could see by the seam position as it got to point of delivery there by Lungi and Giri. Maybe he was initially thinking, the smile on his face tends to suggest he was thinking, come on, I can trap him in front when I get the first chance.
Yes, if he's bowling that 9, it's well worth having a man at leg slip or a backward short leg. A lot of teams have done that in the past against Steve Smith. Because he walks across the stumps, target that middle in leg, and now fielder there, Marco Jansen.
Yeah, it's something that he's developed, Lungi and Giri. You've seen a couple of the slow-mos, beautiful presentation for the away swing. He gets his seam into a very, very good position and gets some movement, but he has really worked hard on being able to consistently move the ball back at right-handers at will. And that's what I think he was trying straight away after the drinks break.
The thing as a batter as well, it's very hard to leave a ball on leg stump or just outside leg stump. You've grown up and you've always been told to play straight, and when you know that LBW is a dismissal, bowled is a dismissal, you want to use your bat. So instinctively you go and played it. So Marco Jansen, he's just run down to Kagiso Rabada now, but he has gone to leg slip, and that's because you have to play. You do play it. Very difficult, very, very difficult to leave the ball on leg stump thinking that it might be missing leg. So Jansen's got a catch. He's got a great set of hands, and it's quite surprising at 6'7", having such a good set of hands.
And he's got the reach as well. Mentioned he's got a good pair of hands for Australia. Cam Green, who covers that gully position. Brilliant catcher.
The other thing, KP, is when you're wary of that guy at leg slip, sometimes you're so conscious of you don't get across to the offside and just let the hands kind of flow at a delivery. And it can bring the outside edge into play. So it can be mind games. I mean, there's intent with the field positioning, but also can have benefits at other places.
Oh, he's got it in the gap. He couldn't have split the field better.
But he almost looked like he was going to bail out in it because he was so conscious of leg slip. It was almost looked like I'm going to play at this, and then sort of looked to leave it. But it worked out okay. The boundary.
what he does here is he gets his left leg out of the way, and then he sort of gets it in the way, like tries to make his left leg go towards the ball. And that's where we're talking here to you about the fact that you actually can't leave it. You can't leave it.
And you can't be in control. He's not in control here.
No way.
That was good catching height. Just a little wider. Marco Jansen.
You get another one in there. 3 sips in a gully on the leg side.
It's 37 for 2.
Yeah, you saw the thinking there of Ngidi last delivery. KP, you can only have 2 behind. You can't have 3 slips in the gully on the leg side. It's like you're going back to, what is it called?
Body line.
Body line, that's it.
It is the World Test Championship final, Sean.
We'll just change the rules, will we?
It's a one-off.
It's very overcast. It's been like this since the morning, but a good crowd in. A lot of people coming from South Africa to watch this contest as well. So Mulder continuing. Edge not carrying.
That's what we touch on, and that's the reason why when it's going down the slope, you have to try and get your second slip and gully to be as close as possible. Because the ball's moving down off the slope, it takes the edge. It doesn't have a pronounced carry. This is a great delivery, perfect area. Brings about the outside edge. Yes, it is played with slightly soft hands, but you would still expect that to carry. That falls comfortably short. He's also bowling well enough to maybe justify another man in there, Ravi.
And what teams do normally is when they're not sure how much the ball will carry, one man comes right up. More often than not, a second slip gets in at least a couple of feet further ahead.
He's also been the most improved, Mulder. He has done a lot of hard work. He had some injury problems with his back, and he's worked hard on his action. He's come over and played some county cricket. He used to hover in around 125 as like a maximum speed. He's got it up in this match in particular. He's been in the 130s. And it would have been part of the selection process for South Africa. They had Dane Patterson, who's done a really good job, but he only bowls around about 125. And you can see that's okay, well, it's 5 Ks per hour. That's still a marked improvement, and it's been down to action change and mindset change as well.
Also with his height, he's very different to the Rabada, Jansen and Ngidi. He really has to get the ball up there. And when he came on, I thought that it was a little bit of a poor decision to have extra cover. I think 3 slips in a gully with the length that he is bowling. You don't mind him hitting him through the cover. He's getting it fuller. He's asking the batter to drive. His lengths are actually better than some of the other bowlers because they're fuller. Stuart Broad was talking about it. Dinesh Karthik was talking about it. Got to get the ball up. I think number 44 there. He's got to go to 3rd slip.
You mentioned Polly's worked hard on his action. What sort of corrections you reckon?
So it's a difficult one to explain, but initially when he used to go up into his action, he used to kind of get that back leg behind the front leg, which is not a very strong position. He's kind of got it behind himself, and that puts a lot more stress on the back. And he's been able to straighten that out, obviously open himself up a little bit, not get as side on, kind of not mix the action, as we talk about in bowling terminology, kind of work in better straight lines, and it's definitely helped him to be more effective. So we'll slow-mo the action down for you and explain it. And the key element to watch here is actually his back foot. His back foot, he used to get very side on, and he's got that to face a little bit more straight towards the batter, taking the stress off the back. And you actually see from this angle is the ideal one. So his back foot used to actually get behind his front foot. Now it lands in a nice position. That used to be a lot further over, and that's why he's put so much stress. So he's worked hard and reaping the success of it.
It's still 37 for 2.
And they also would have given him a roll, Ravi. They would have said to him, listen, you saw what Dane Patterson did when he played for South Africa. It wasn't express, it was just consistent. It just landed it, ball after ball. We want you to take on that role. Can you do it for us? And I think that's what he's trying to achieve.
Vernon Philander was pretty good doing it.
He was fantastic. A day he'll remember, a young man. At the home of cricket, getting a chance to whack a ball.
You come into play at Lord's, there's a lot of spectators and show public who say to you, come on, what effect does the slope have? Like, explain it to a little bit to us in different terminology. And there is the slope. Obviously, when you're bowling from the pavilion end, there's percentages of movement. What does the ball do? In general, if it's a neutral delivery, it'll just nip back down the slope, and the amount of movement is just slightly more than what you'll get up the slope. So there you can see how the pavilion, it's flat on the one side and goes down. It's 2.5 meters, the height change from one side to the other. 2.5.
8 feet plus.
There's the wall. You can see plenty of wall at that part of the picture.
You notice it when you played? Much note?
I tell you what, as a bowler you did. You know, like if you're a runner, I mean, I suppose, how do you explain it to the viewers outside? They wouldn't have played cricket, but they might have run. And you know, in the camber of a road, when you're running along a road and it's got that camber where the water feeds off, you just feel like you're favouring one side. It's the same thing when you deliver, and then all of a sudden your weight goes in a slightly different direction to normal.
You batted a lot here, KP. Would your stance or your guard change because of the slope?
I think only the setup. Your setup changes. I don't think you change too much else. But I never really felt too much of a slope. I was actually walking out with Matthew Hayden this morning. We went out to go and do the chats before the fixture started, and he was saying how much he really felt the slope, whereas I can't really remember taking too much of the slope into account. I'm probably not as smart as Haydos for a start.
Why would you? You average 56 here. To hell with the slope.
I think the sun was shining on most of the days we played here, and it was beautiful to bat, Rav.
You've always been off balance already, so
just the balance back. Yeah, let me tell you, it's a lovely place to bat. It's a lovely place to watch cricket, and when you're finished, it really is a beautiful place to reminisce. New stands next to us there in the media box. A bit of money being spent here at Lord's. Wonderful new additions. He goes okay at Lord's as well, Mr. Smith. Unconventional, but goodness, the numbers he's got.
Just see around the ground the tension. There's not much noise. Often happens in the first session of a test match. People come in early, they line up the streets down St. John's Wood. Now that's early for Merv in the house. Yeah, just warming up. Just about warming up. Oh, nicely played. It's in the gap as well and into the boundary. It's the first real expansive shot from Steve Smith.
Yeah, 41 for 2 after 16. It's the hands of Steve Smith, as unconventional as we think he looks. He finds the middle of his bat on many of an occasion. It was full, it was wide, and it deserved to get hit for 4. You see a lot of leaving from the other side, Marnus. Steve Smith, he's not going to let you go. Absolutely not. And that's why he's one of the great players. His head is in such a good position. The hands go and it's runs.
Just the follow through, the way that bottom hand comes in and takes the bat along the path where the ball is going. Such good hand-eye coordination, because you could see how far his feet were from the ball when he hit that boundary.
This is an interesting one, Ravi. They decided to have no fine leg in place. We've been harboring on about the fact that we maybe want a third slip in place, and they think, okay, where can we find it? They don't want to take away cover. Kev, you were saying cover comes in, so they decided to go without third man. I mean, fine leg. And they've given themselves an extra bit of catching power. This boundary, Steve Smith's technique, he moves around the crease a lot, but then once he's kind of set himself, the feet don't go again. He relies on those hands, as you mentioned, and so very good at just waiting as late as possible and then making sure he rolls the wrists.
It's his head. I always talk to young batters about your head, trying to get your head as close to the ball as possible, eyes as close to the ball as possible. Gone are the days of the perfect cover drive where your foot is to the pitch of the ball and then you play the most gorgeous recover with the elbow up. Absolutely not. His eyes are brilliant, Steve Smith.
Good shout. No shot offered.
Yeah, this is one that's nipped up the slope, Ravi. As a batter batting from the pavilion end, you think, well, everything's going to go down with the slope, but this one hasn't. It's just nipped. Bavuma's not convinced it's nipped back enough, and they're not going to send it up.
We're going to have a look at the replay. We're going to see if the ball is going to hit the stumps. Temba Bavuma's decided that they're not going to go upstairs. There is that little bit of movement, fraction of movement, but he's well outside the line. That's missing. It would have been a poor review.
Yeah, his thought process was high. As he walked away there, Marnus Labuschagne, he was signaling that, hey, hold on, I think that's high. He was trying to maybe influence whether they decided to review it or not.
Yes.
Yeah, just on Marnus batting here, it's actually quite frustrating to watch because he has the ability to hit the ball really well if his body goes towards the ball, if his head goes towards the ball. Have a look at that. That's the previous delivery to the one that there was the shout. And this is the ball that he left. Fairly similar. I just think it's a mindset. He has the ability, he has the eyes, he has the technique. And I just think that he just needs to try and change the way he's thinking at the moment, Marnus. Batters are out there to score runs. You're not out there to leave the ball all day.
And that was his strength when he first came, his ability to get that fluency going. Maintained a good tempo. The scoreboard ticked along.
You can bowl to that, right, Polly? If somebody's leaving, you wanting to leave, I mean, you're just working him over. That's what you would do to somebody just trying to leave the ball the whole time. Comparing that to somebody who's like Steve Smith, if you miss your line, you miss your length, he smacks you for 4.
Even with the change of field setting here, they've decided not to have a fine leg, which suggests you're not going to attack the stumps. You're just going to hover in and around outside. And if he's going to leave it, then it kind of makes that kind of job a lot easier for you.
Both wickets taken by Rabada. He should have a spell before lunch.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Ravi, is that they'll be so tempted, Temba Bavuma. I think it's been good for South Africa. Win the toss, decide to bowl first. Things are going according to plan. Enough overcast conditions and cloud cover to suggest that it's a good decision. I think they've backed it up with the way they've bowled, and also they haven't been nervous. And sometimes if you go out as a unit in the field, it helps with the nerves.
Yeah, they've looked very composed and they bowled well as a unit. 41 for 2. It's 41 for 2. A crowd of 28,000, 29,000 expected today. So Marco Jansen into the attack. And he starts around the wicket to Smith with a leg slip in place.
Yeah, we saw the tactic of Lungi Ngidi. He'll not bowl the leg slip very often. In fact, I've never seen him bowl the leg slip, but it's obviously a plan here to Steve Smith. But on the other side, Marco Jansen often in South Africa will bowl the leg slip, and that's because of the height he bowls from, the extra bounce he extracts out of surfaces. So that's why this might be a good fit. Round the wicket, trying to get that extra bounce. He's got the leg slip in place. And he'd be desperate to try and pick up a wicket and back up his fast bowling partner, Rabada, from the other end.
Yeah, a little bit of frustration. He likes to hit the ball. He was probably saying to himself to just wait a little bit longer. Just wait a fraction longer, and then he's looking at extra cover. Steve Smith, he wants to miss Bavuma. He's annoyed. He's out there to score runs. He needs to speak to his batting partner.
He's maintaining a good tempo today. Ever since he's come in, the feet are moving well. Right mix between caution and aggression. Not much movement now in the air or off the seam, so conditions will ease out for batting.
Yeah, Rob, your point is so valid that the kind of movement's gone away from him. That's why I'd actually prefer to see Jansen coming over the wicket, because it's the angle that he creates from over the wicket with that extra bounce that kind of can bring the outside edge. There hasn't been excessive bounce on the surface. In fact, if you back up a length or try and execute a short pitch delivery, it's looked a bit like a feather bed.
He's not changing at all, is Marco Jansen, even though he's bowling to Labuschagne here. The thing about Labuschagne as well, it's not a criticism of him. It's more of another way to think about the game, because we've seen what he's done in the past, and his numbers over the last 18 months haven't been what they were at the start. And he's good enough to hit the ball harder and put pressure on Jansen, put pressure on Rabada, put pressure on Ngidi. Decent numbers if he's stopped now for sure, averaging almost 47 with 1100s.
He's taking evasive action, so he'll get 4. Leg byes will be signalled.
Now, we saw earlier on in the day, Labuschagne played a pull shot where he kind of was looking to duck, and it didn't bounce as much as he expected. He just bunted it onto the leg side. They're asking if he's going to come out for a concussion test, but I don't think it's made contact with the helmet. It might have just been the shoulder. Yes, it was. Another example, though, of a ball being banged in, not climbing like he expects. And he'll take the 4 leg bars. Yeah, no issues there. Straight off the shoulder, doesn't have to have any concussion assessments.
Talking of Labuschagne, what he's done here, the strike has hardly rotated. In the last half an hour, they've changed ends just once. It can put off the non-striker as well. Oh, he's got him. The finger's gone up. There you go. It's South Africa getting their number 3. And Labuschagne shaking his head.
Yes, it's brilliant from Jansen. I was maybe asking him to come over the wicket, but it's the length that he hits on the angle. Labuschagne thinks it's coming back towards me. I have to play at it. Maybe it nicks down the slope. The length is good. It's full enough. It's around the top of the stumps, and he just gets outside that off stump, pushes it. It's a feather, and Jansen has struck. 3 wickets down now, South Africa. They've won the toss. They've bowled first. They've got 3. And this has been a fantastic first session for them. Labuschagne, he has to go. Goes for 17. Australia now 46 for 3.
.46 for 3 here at Lord's, and as we see Marnus Labuschagne making his way back up the stairs, just like 2 predecessors. It's been South Africa's morning, there's no doubt about it, and Themba Bavuma has pulled the right rein on every occasion so far. He's won the toss, he's made the right decision, he's had the right field settings, and he's mixed and mingled his bowlers to the point where they have taken charge of this first session. And what a time to bring out Travis Head, because we know anything can happen here. But what an awful time, Graham Smith, to be coming out to bat.
Yeah, for a player of his style, attacking style, this would be his worst nightmare. Having to navigate a half an hour before lunch. Excellent wicket for South Africa. They've stuck at it. Labuschagne took an age to get off the pitch. So disappointed, very tentative from him, just feeling outside that off stump.
Mulder to Steve Smith, and got to say, we're joined also by A.B. de Villiers. What a great honour it is to have him up here in the commentary box, and what a good time to be coming in. South Africa have picked up 3 wickets in the first session, and no ball here as well. That's probably been the only indiscretion South Africa have committed. But AB, what a morning.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ian. Very good breakthrough there. Marnus was moving exceptionally well. I was actually sitting on the side there in the grandstand and watching his movements from the side. He's been very decisive, and that's a huge wicket. We wanted to really break this partnership from a South African point of view. Marco coming around the wicket. Interesting tactic that. But against that slope, getting a little bit of movement, and what seemed to be an inform Marnus got to walk back. Huge breakthrough for South Africa.
And you have to wonder whether Themba Bavuma is thinking about bringing Rabada back into the attack for the last 25 minutes. Another strike, knock over Smith now before lunch or something like that, and that would be a huge session for South Africa.
Well, you've both led South Africa, and you've both been in this situation where you have to make these situation decisions. I'm all over Rabada bowling to Travis Head right now. I'm all over it.
Graham, I don't know what you would have done, but I think that's a great call. It's all out about attack now. We've got them 47 for 3. 4 and 5 would be huge, and would definitely. I think it's already been a good decision to bowl first. I was a little bit doubtful of the decision initially. You generally want to bat first here. With the overcast conditions, it's ended up to be 1 or 2 more would be great.
Yeah, not a lot of pace in the surface, but I think the South Africans have been consistent. They've bowled well in partnerships and been at. Australia haven't allowed them to get going. But Smith is looking good. He has looked assured at the crease. An opportunity to turn it into a 4 or 5 wicket session. Can't let that go. That's a big game-changing session.
Well, it is. I mean, you're not going to win a test match on day one, but you grab your moments on day one and you assume control. And you're looking at your best bowler bowling at their best batsman at a crucial time, a really crucial time. I mean, there's not a lot of profit to be made batting this close to lunch, but there's a lot of profit bowling.
And you know that as a batter as well. You know it's half an hour. Talk in the change room, managing the key periods just before breaks and after breaks. Looking after your mate in the change room as well. No one wants to get out there and have to face 20 minutes, half an hour.
A lot of snappers around the ground. I've already got some wonderful images of this first session of this test match. Travis Head. What kind of Travis Head is going to be with us today? Is he the one that's going to turn South Africa around here? It's such a good time to have him in from South Africa's point of view. 47 for 3. Caught well, South Africa. Done everything pretty much to plan. Not given enough for Australia to get away on them. They've been disciplined. Webster sits and waits. And Alex Carey, of course. And then the bowlers. Now for Travis Head, we've got 3 slips, a gully, a backward point. We've got a whitish mid-off, so there's a gap between point and mid-off that he'll be eyeing up. He's aggressive from ball 1. Is he not?
Yeah, loves playing square, doesn't he? Travis Head, square cut, pulls. It's his game. He's built his career on being positive, taking the game to the bowlers. A great start to him from Jansen. Gave him the opportunity to get away. He was there to go.
Well, there's this massive gap through the covers, which has just got... I mean, Travis Head is just loving that area. He peppers that area. But it's also can be a weakness. Look at all that space there. He can see any width going through there.
That's one of those you generally don't really want to be batting after. it's a nervous man sitting in the change room when Travis comes to the wicket. He's very aggressive up front. He's facing the tall Marco Jansen, who seems to be in good form. Only gone for 13 in his 5.2. Golden opportunity for South Africa to put some pressure on this partnership. Got to get it in the right areas though. There's more than enough on this wicket. Catches already, all the attacking fielders in place.
Jansen, I think it was short ball actually that was really effective in his dismissal. And you know, AB spoke about the decisive movement of Labuschagne, but that short ball took his feet away and was caught in the crease, felt for it, very tentative. So a good change up from Jansen brings him the reward. Square leg goes back to Travis Head. I think South Africa, it's a good ploy to always make sure you use your short ball. Don't overuse it, but let the batter know you're there.
Travis Head is underway. With some aggressive running as well. He only knows one way to play, and that's the counter punch.
Yeah, and that has been the Aussie way over the years, right? When you feel the pressure, they almost want to immediately put it right back to the opposition. Good balance there from Head. It's a nice little 2 to get off the mark.
So about 18, 19 minutes to lunch. 2 for Rabada.
Absolutely. I haven't seen him doing too much limbering up though, so if Timber's just hanging on, going to give Mulder another one. hum around the ground now.
He's got that one, Travis Head. You give him 2 opportunities, he'll get one of them. He is underway, and the Aussies like the sight of Travis Head on this mode. It's 53 for 3.
Yeah, poor delivery, playing into the strength of Travis Head. Just a drag down with width. Travis Head hits it hard, doesn't care, doesn't keep it down. Let's just go hard at it.
All sorts of royalty in the crowd today here at Lord's. He doesn't hold back, Travis Head. That's the one thing he has in his favour. When he goes big. There's no hesitation about hitting the ball in the air. So even an edge is going to fly. There's nothing indecisive about what he wants to do.
It's the good players in that they only take 1 or 2 balls to realize what the bounce is going to be like, the pace on the wicket. They don't generally miss out too often, and Head has been in a rich vein of form over the last few seasons, scoring runs in all formats. And if you give him 1 bad ball, you might miss out early on initially, but then that's that. You've got to get on the money now from here on in.
It's interesting, actually. South Africa have gone a little more defensive. They've blocked that cover region with Mulder bowling to Travis Head. Just 2 slips in a gully.
South Africa using round the wicket as a tactic a lot in this first session. Surprised me that they go there so quickly. Mulder could have given himself a couple of deliveries, see if there's a bit of shape in to the left-hander. South Africa don't want to lose their intensity now. They've been so good. Last 17 minutes of this session, you want to be on it. Recognize the opportunity. You've given yourself a chance now to make it a great session.
Far more attacking here for Steve Smith. 3 slips and a gully, and when Jansen's in the gully, it's like having 2 gullies. His wingspan is so big. In fact, they're going to keep him in there and put a mid-wicket in for Steve Smith, who favours on the onside if he gets an opportunity.
Maybe you're in the crowd, lots of South Africans out there.
Plenty. It's unbelievable with the anthems. I was getting flashbacks of some rugby games back home, actually. It was amazing to see. The support's here. We just need a bit more momentum.
Good time to bring up rugby with Smithy next to us.
You hold the trophies. But here's something just to level you guys out, just to put a bit of a dampener on things. So we'll delve back in the street. The WTC Final 2023, the last edition. Travis Head joined Steve Smith when Australia was 76 for 3. They put on 285, gents. I'm not trying to put you off your lunch, but memories are memories.
Perfect timing from you, Smithy. That's even speaks more to the point why Temba needs to recognise the moment here just before lunch.
How did he get that there? That is Travis Head. That was a Mulder stands mid-pitch with his hands on his hips thinking, how did you get that ball there? It's angling in towards off stump. 58 for 3. So uncanny. He's good to bowl to and he's hard to bowl to. It gives you a chance, but he can undo some of your best work so quickly. Four options used by Timber Bavuma this morning, and all of them have done a roll. I've never let Australia get away. Minimum amount of poor deliveries. Three slips and a leg slip. Nice drive. Bavuma will probably run it down, but they'll get 3.
I think one of the key parts of South Africa's success this morning has been the consistency. They haven't pushed too hard. They just bowled in good areas, bowled in partnerships, kept Australia under pressure. Just feel that maybe they're trying too hard a little bit now. Let's get that rhythm going again. I think it's the type of surface you're going to blast people out. It's got no pace to it. You've got to build it up.
Now, Graham, it's always a tricky time of the game where you feel you've had a good start, 3 down, but you're not sure what is going to be a good total at the end of the day. Do you push now and really hard to try and get 4 and 5, or do you keep building the way you have been building, getting wickets by patience?
The treasured Mace. And this is the unboxing of this fantastic trophy you've had your hands on.
Yeah, it's a special feeling. I mean, getting hold of that Mace is normally a culmination of a lot of hard work, toil around the world, consistency in the test format. It's a good looking trophy, the Mace.
2 Hall of Famers bringing it out this morning. Matthew Hayden, Hashim Amla. Smith goes for that. Gives it absolutely everything, and a couple of boundaries late here in the session for Australia.
Yeah, you said it, Smithy, a little counter punch from Head and Smith. The thing that happens with Labuschagne at the crease is that you can bowl to him for a long period of time. He allows bowlers to settle. This partnership's looking to be positive. Both very different strengths and weaknesses, Smith and Head, left-hand, right-hand combination. They're looking to take the game to South Africa late in the first session.
I'm assuming that Rabada's fully fit, and I'm just a little bit perplexed why he hasn't had 2 cracks in this session.
In your career, look, I always prefer batting with a positive partner to also look to score, rather than someone that was a very defensive mindset. You feel the difference in pressures depending on the style of your partner.
Yeah, it is a fine line, that, Graham. Just have a look at Steve Smith this morning. Very decisive in his movements. some fantastic strokes, really good patience, just a good mixture of test cricket and a good test innings here today from him. And as you said, Graham, counter punching now.
Sir Andrew Strauss. A long way across the stumps there. Chris Gaffney has a quick glance at it, but South Africa might want to have a talk about this, but I have to do it quickly.
The thing about Steve Smith, he does get so far across, it always makes you think you need to go for the referral. Around the wicket, South Africa do it. Is there too much angle on this from Jansen?
Player review for LBW. Original decision is not out. Bowler's feet checked. It's a fair delivery. Looking at the split screen now. Keep it rolling through, please. Keep it rolling right through, please. Keep it rolling right through, please. Clear gap between bat and ball. No bat involved. We'll go to ball tracking when ready, please. Ball tracking coming now, pitching outside off, impacting line. Wickets is umpire's call. Chris, you can stay with your original decision of not out. Stand by. You're on screen. Signal now.
Chris Gaffney gets it just right. South Africa might feel a bit aggrieved at 66 for 3. Sixth over for Mulder. And Travis Head works him down towards a backwards square leg to get off strike. One more moment, one more South African moment in this session. Nearly. Cracking delivery.
Yeah, you're never quite in on this wicket. It's what I've found over the years playing at Lords. You can be on 40, you can be on 80. You're just never quite in. There's always a bit of sea movement around, whether the ball is 20 or 60 overs old. And that'll be encouraging for South Africa. For Vian Mulder here, hitting the deck nice and hard on that occasion. Just missing out on that outside edge from Steve Smith.
We thought he would go at Rabada, but he hasn't. Mulder's in a good area. Maybe just in the head of Steve Smith a little bit of the use of the feet, trying to mess with Mulder. Consistency's been good. It's his 6th over, just gone for the 6 runs. South Africa be desperate for one more wicket here. That's got to be the play.
Did you even contemplate Maharaj? Did you even think about Maharaj now? Probably the last thing Australia are expecting.
Yeah, maybe mentioned it to me now. I probably would. It's never a bad idea just to try one. Especially if there's still a bit of moisture in the surface, it can also spin.
Well, it's too late for anyone else, really. You can't start a seamer now. I think it would be great to see if there's a bit of tacky turn. You never know.
Interesting to see what Travis Head does if they do bowl Maharaj. I think he'll attack him, but I have a feeling just watching out of our combox that Rabada might be coming from the pavilion end. He's left him late in the day. Maybe get one over before the break if that's the case.
Done a good job, Mulder. He hasn't got a wicket, but he has been miserly. Australia have not been able to get him. Second shot was the better one, 67 for 3.
It's not short of fidgeting, Steve Smith. Definitely such a world-class batter. Can really drive you mad watching him.
The problem for me is I was sitting on the side with my sons and they were following like every single detail he was doing, and I'm worried they start doing the stuff back home as well.
You're trying to tell me you haven't shown them any videos of your batting at home? Have you got it on like a digital screen on replay?
I've never showed them anything. They found it out through their friends at school, I think. But it's been on, unfortunately, over the last few months. But the good thing is we're here. They asked me, Dad, please can we go watch a WTC final? So we're heading in the right direction with regards to cricket and sport in general, Smithy.
Oh, my son's very jealous. School's still going on in Cape Town.
Little touches there down the leg side. What a catch! The rain has taken an absolute screamer. And South Africa are jubilant because they have owned this first morning's play. And they have caught brilliantly.
Well, South Africa, look at Carl Rain. So happy. What a moment. Never nice getting out down the leg side like that. Travis Head will be hugely disappointed. He's looked good. He's looked positive. Oh, this will be gutting for him. Not a good delivery, angled in. Fainty. South Africa's catching in this first session, been outstanding, finished with a beauty from Bahrain. And a dominant first session for South Africa.
Unbelievable piece of wicket keeping. They've been tidy. He's led the charge. He's spaced the slips well. And in the end, he takes his second catch and he'll remember that one forever. Because a dangerous player goes again before lunch, and Australia are reeling here at 67 for 4. This is a happy Group AB.
They've taken the opportunities this morning, that's for sure, and it's not going to be the 270 partnership today, Smithy. It's a really good finish to the session for South Africa. Won the toss, decided to bowl first, and it's got to be said it was the right decision now. They will come back with a lot of energy in that second session.
Outstanding. Not always it's a joy to walk back through the long room, but South Africa are getting a great round of applause from the members who appreciate a really good performance. They love their cricket here. They understand who's owned this session, and they get a rousing reception as they head back up to the home dressing room, and they'll feel like they're at home at the moment. It's been all about them. They won the toss, they bowled, and that man has led them well. He's not likely to get carried away. He'll sit down and just mull over what's happened. He knows he's got more work to do after lunch, but they should feel very happy. Won the toss and decided to bowl first. I think we all agreed that might be the best plan for South Africa if they took early wickets.
Yeah, brave decision, and it's paid off. getting through that top order. South Africa, Rabada and Janssen set the tone. Rabada getting 2 wickets in and over. That got South Africa moving, and then they stuck at it, bowled in partnerships. And the big wicket of Travis Head just before the lunch break makes it a great session for South Africa.
Partnerships, well, they just have not been any of substance. Not that Australia have not tried, they just have not been able to get away on this relentlessly accurate attack. They've given them very little to play with. The bowling aspect you'd have to be happy with.
Yeah, led by Rabada, back from a controversial few months, decided that's not going to stop my momentum. I'll get back to work and lead the attack here at Lord's in the WTC Final. Well backed up by Janssen and Mulder as well, and Ngidi there.
Yeah.
Lots of work in that second session, but looking good.
Can't take a lot away from Mulder, really, can you? Look, 6 overs, none for 6. At a time where Australia might look to counterpunch, it was not the case. So as we look back at the session, the morning, quite honestly, and clearly belongs to South Africa. 4 for 67, the run rate, just 2.87. They have not taken their foot off the throat at any stage. Lunch will be very interesting, a lot of analysis. Kevin Peterson will be downstairs. Matthew Hayden will be downstairs, and running the cutter for us will be Ian Bishop.
We are at the home of cricket, Lord's Cricket Ground.
For the World Test Championship Final, the ultimate test.
South Africa and Australia.
So South Africa having decided to bowl first.
Rabada, 2 in the over. South Africa are on fire.
That's 4 easy pickings here for Steve Smith.
And Janssen has struck 3 wickets down now, South Africa. And this has been a fantastic first session for them.
This is the Emirates Premium Economy seat. Economy. Perhaps they need to call it something else.
Might be a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Be no good if you can't hear us.
Yep. What is the last wicket? Can you hear me now? All right, so you said last wicket. Will that now be Travis Head? No. When? Oh, still Labuschagne. Okay. So do we get an intro question to them first, or we go straight in? Hello? Rory?
Yep.
Rory? Sorry, do we get an intro question on the session first, or do we just dive straight into analysis? Action-packed first morning of the ICC World Test Championship final, and South Africa won the toss, elected to bowl first under leaden skies, and Kagiso Rabada was into his work very, very early. Manus Labuschagne opening the batting, struggled a touch, but it has been a fantastic time and first session. And when you hear the nursery end, this is why it is aptly named, because we are standing on the nursery ground where all the action you see out there in the middle is perfected and crafted at this very practice facility before they get out there. Alongside me, two men who know this ground very well. Matthew Hayden, thank you very much for being with us. Kevin Peterson, all smiles. Nice to see you once again. A session, let me start with you, Matt, closest to me. How do you sum it up?
It's South Africa's. It's really as simple as that. Had they have not lost Travis Head in that last session, I think that Australia may well have gone, well, look, at best it's a draw. But the reality is, with Head gone, that real offensive player, that combination with Smith at the crease could have been a very dangerous run for Australia. Now no longer.
Was this expected, Kevin, given the overhead conditions once Temba Bavuma won the toss and elected to bowl?
I think Graham Smith said it after the toss that South Africa had to bowl first. With the inexperienced batting lineup that South Africa does have, with a couple of their big batters that haven't actually played at Lord's, and the emotion of the occasion. Having interviewed Ryan Rickleton at the start of play and talking to him, I mean, I spent a lot of time with him in the IPL. We went for dinners and he was a completely different guy walking out there. So with that emotion, South Africa bowling first have done well, and I agree with Dos. That was a huge wicket. That strangle down the leg side was massive, because I remember the time playing against these guys, Gilchrist comes in. Gilchrist can destroy you in a session. They can't do that now, so South Africa's got the upper hand.
Let's stick with that theme of bowling then, Kevin, and you talk about finishing off the session well.
Yeah.
Rabada started it off well.
He started beautifully, and that's what you expect from the tall fast bowler. You talk about the players who haven't got the experience of playing here at Lord's. Well, Rabada's on the honours board. So Rabada knows what it's like to bowl here. He knows what it's like to bowl with a slope. He knows what it feels like under his feet when he's running into bowl. And that's what a lot of players, when they come here for the first time, they don't really get the conditions. Sean Pollock was talking about it. We did a stint, and we're talking about the slope, 2.5 meters. That affects a lot of players and a lot of people when they come here. But for Rabada, he's got the experience. They needed him, and he delivered.
And Matthew, we saw those catches being taken there. In addition for a uniqueness for bowlers, the catching also presents some unique challenges.
Well, catches win matches, there's no doubt about it, and all 4 dismissals have been behind the stumps. Where it can be a little unique here is because it's a bit of a feather bed earlier up in the season, it means that your slip cordon has to be dragged forward. When you drag your slip forward a little bit further, it means that you're in each other's pockets a little bit as well to protect each other. So both catches, excellent execution. You know, when you think of those catches fast to the right-hand side, they weren't even straight into the breadbasket, so to speak. So very important for South Africa at this stage to continue that same trend.
Yeah.
Magnificent catching.
And just dragging out the lateral movement that we've seen under these overcast skies, I thought was quite impressive as well.
Well, watching the weather as you do as a cricket lover, and when you know you're working on the game, the weather's actually not been the weather that's been predicted for the last few days. We expected sunshine, and when you start looking at sunshine at Lord's, you don't see movement like this. But with overcast conditions, you do see this movement. And you know, we all know coming to England, what is happening with the overcast conditions. With overcast conditions, it's exactly what you see. If the sun comes out later, and there is a little bit of a breakup of cloud at the moment, it comes up later, you won't see that. And that's again why that wicket of Head is amazing. I mean, for South Africa, it's massive.
And interesting, Ian Bishop, when you look at all those dismissals, KP, as well, you see very similar foot movements.
Yeah.
Very limited. They go the initial little step, and then they don't actually go any farther at the ball.
Yeah.
Green getting really caught out in front of him. And Labuschagne exactly the same way as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he has had such a significant start to his test match series. His first 30-odd test matches, you know, he was averaging over 50. His next 29 innings, he's been in that kind of mid-20s ranges, and simply because of this, that initial movement doesn't go any further. A boxer can never throw a punch from the ring. He has to be in the contest, he has to be in the fight, and he has to be close to the ball, and that hasn't happened.
and then Travis Head.
That's luck, right? That's not one that you plan for. They certainly didn't have a discussion last night about Travis Head and say, if you bowl the one just wide outside leg stump, and you really are effective there because it's one of his weaknesses, I'm sure that there's going to be a one-hander. That is luck. That is absolute luck.
That's what you call one for the good guys.
It is. It is one. They probably deserved it. They bowled well. They won the toss, and they really needed it.
It's a good catch as well. That has to be said. But Steve Smith has stood tall.
Well, he's such a magnificent, unorthodox player. When you actually dissect Stephen Smith's game, you would say the absolute opposite to the majority of batsmen. Doesn't move his feet a lot.
He tries to hit the ball.
But he does try and hit the ball. He's actually an offensive player, a hands player, and he hits the bat and the ball crisply in the middle most times.
It's a big difference, Bish, when you've got a player like we talk about Marnus, who stands there and he defends and he plays beautifully and he plays late. You've got a guy like Steve Smith who hits the ball. You as a bowler, you know, who would you prefer to bowl to? Somebody like Matthew Hayden who's coming at you wanting to hit the ball, or Marnus who stands there and goes like this? The bowler upstairs with Polly, he said, I'd rather bowl somebody who's trying to leave me.
Absolutely, it gives you a chance to settle in, but Steve Smith certainly is one of those greats of the game at the moment, and over the course of this test match we'll be looking at a number of the great players on either side, and there's no better place to start than the late great Shane Warne.
If he's not the greatest cricketer of all time, he's in the top three. Australians may include Don Bradman, Indians may include Sachin Tendulkar. For me, Shane was the greatest cricketer of all time.
Shane Warne. The greatest thing I ever did in cricket was play cricket with Shane Warne, no question. When we were 18 years old, we were at the Australian Institute of Sport Cricket Academy together, and there was this young kid with long blonde hair, earring, used to have a cigarette in his mouth, and he used to sit on the pool table and roll the pool ball, the leg spinner into the left pocket, the wrong un or the googly into the right pocket. He used to practice his flipper. And this kid, so I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Used to practice his flipper, and this kid, cricket with Shane so I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was so practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature. And this kid, I knew him from 18, and I played my whole career. I retired with Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Only was practice his flipper, competitive nature.
off the field and away from the game. When you got to work off the field with away from the game, when they're on your side. Off the field with away from the game, they're on your side. Off the field with away from the game, they're on your side. With away from the game, they're on your side.
What he does really well, what he does really well, what he does really well,
What as he often does. Australia. Rabada, 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 as he often does. Rabada, as he often does. Matches taken some wickets as well. 4 matches taken some wickets as well. 4 matches taken some wickets as well.
To do with the conditions
as well.
To do with the conditions
as well.
To do with the fast bowling, seam bowling in particular. Defensive mindset, seam bowling doesn't take defensive gives you a chance, but doesn't take defensive gives you a chance, but doesn't
Swinging further down the hill. Swinging further down the hill. Throw his hands at that sort of swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. He's looking at the outside. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. He's looking at the outside. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. He's looking at the outside. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. Australia. Swinging further. He's not looking at middle stump. The slope is leaning towards the slope corner. He's still trying to bowl that off to leg slip. He's still trying to bowl that off to leg slip corner, but then he can nick it. To leg slip corner, but then he can nick it. To leg slip corner, but then he jumps across the leg corner, and then jumps across the and then jumps across the and then when you jump across too wide or jump a little bit Too wide, it jumps a little bit. 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 Too wide, it jumps a little bit.
Was a get off the mark end. Similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across the end. Similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across the end. Fielder should similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across the
That's what you're talking about.
Similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across
That's what you're talking about.
Similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across
That's what you're talking about.
Similar to Cameron Green, his back comes across
Seems such an obvious strategy. Then he's offside. Looking again, seems such an obvious strategy. Then he's offside. Looking again, the variation. Seems such an obvious strategy. Past is outside. Then he's offside. Looking again, the variation. Seems such an obvious strategy. Past is outside. Then he's offside. Looking again, the variation.
Beautiful movement from Rabada. The wobble sees a bit of the leather and nips up the slope. Beautiful movement. Nothing you can do as a batter. The wobble sees a bit of the leather, nips up the slope. Nothing you can do as a batter. Wobble sees a bit of the leather, nips up the slope. Nothing you can do as a batter. Wobble sees a bit of the leather, nips up the slope. Nothing you can do as a batter. Wobble sees
First over was loose from batter. Second serve was brilliant from Ronaldo. First over was loose from batter. Second serve was brilliant from Ronaldo. First over was loose from batter. Second serve was brilliant from Ronaldo. First over was loose from batter. Second serve was brilliant from Ronaldo. Webster, second serve, Webster, second serve. Webster, second serve. Now he's gone a long way across as he does. Webster, one review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. One review was umpire's call, long way across as he does, and line. Smith could have had Webster, that looked closer. Smith could have had Webster, that looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith could have had Webster, that looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith could have had Webster, that looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith could have had Webster, that looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Really curious to
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
curious
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
curious
Smith. Could have had Webster. That looked closer.
Slightly uncomfortable at that time, so you've got to be aware of that. Slightly uncomfortable right now, so you've got to be aware of the tail up, that bit of movement. Slightly uncomfortable right now, so you've got to be aware of the tail up, that bit of movement. Slightly uncomfortable right now, so you've got to be aware of the tail up, that bit of movement. Slightly uncomfortable right now, so you've got to be aware of the tail up, that bit of movement.
Into the shot. Silky hands. Those hands 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 into the shot. No silky hands. Those hands into the shot. No silky hands. Those hands
Just
fantastic. The only thing was missing for South Africa was the outside edge. 104 for 4. That is fantastic. The only thing was missing for South Africa was the outside
Good
edge.
from Rabada.
104
As a
for
batter
4.
in these conditions, and you come
That
to
is
England, you know
fantastic.
you
Into
into the test matches. This is going to happen. As a
104
batter in these conditions,
That
forget
is
about England. You know
fantastic.
you into the test matches. This is going to happen. As a batter in these conditions, forget about England. You know you into the test matches. This is going to happen. As a batter in these conditions, forget about England. You know you into the test matches. This is going to happen. As a batter in these conditions, forget about England. You know you
It's like changing the field. Square leg, just pushing back down. It's like changing the field. Square leg, just pushing back down. We'll take the single. It's like changing the field. We're talking before square about leg, just pushing approaches to down. More than happy to go on the attack. We're talking before about using those wonderful hands to down. More than happy to go on the attack. We're talking before about using those wonderful hands to down. More than happy to go on the attack. We're talking before about using those wonderful hands to down. More than happy to go on the attack. We're talking before about using those wonderful hands to down. More than happy to go on the attack. We're talking before about using those wonderful hands to down. More than happy to go on the attack.
Flick that hit on it. It's very hard to put on back. Using all over to come flick that hit on it. It's very hard to put on back. Using all over to come flick that hit on it. It's very hard to put on back.
Looking at
Silverware.
baseball-like. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says yes please, that's the length he likes, that's the length he wants to see. Says
Gale earlier today. Just earlier It's been a putting it, but they've caught absolutely brilliantly. Highlights package at the end of the putting it, but they've caught absolutely brilliantly. Highlights package at the end of the short of a length for Smith, so quickly into position. Package at the end of the short of a length for Smith, so quickly into position. Package at the end of Smith, so quickly into position. Smith, so quickly into position. So quickly into position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position. Australia move to 1, 2, 3. So quickly in its time. To position.
Partnership developing here.
So quickly in
threatening for South Africa's very
to
strong
position.
Partnership developing here, it's fair to say, but
So quickly in
threatening for South Africa's very
to position.
Partnership developing here. Marco Jansen, 17-13 for South Africa's very
To position.
Partnership developing here. Marco Jansen, 17-13 for South Africa's
To position.
Partnership developing here. Marco Jansen, 17-13 for South Africa's
To position. To
Contact with his back pad as he tries to present it down.
When you enter international cricket,
contact with his back pad as he tries to present it down.
When you enter international cricket,
contact with his back pad as he tries to present it down.
When you enter international cricket,
contact with his back pad as he tries to present it down.
When you enter international cricket,
contact with his back pad as he tries to present it down.
International
contact with his back pad.